Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland, and in this video I'm going to ask, why is it President Trump will meet Kim Jong On but not the Queen of the United Kingdom? Well, very shortly after Trump became president, he was invited to go on a state visit to the United Kingdom, and every US president for donkey's years has been invited on a state visit to the UK. The British regard it as a special relationship. Really, the UK's relationship to the United States is like that of Monica Lewinsky to Bill Clinton. But there we are. So it was accepted. It's important to the UK, not so important to the United States, being 5 times bigger in population. So these invitations for a state visit are only issued when it's certain that they will be accepted, because this is the highest expression of amity between two countries. They're founding members of NATO and they fought together in many wars and so forth. And then Trump took the unprecedented step of saying that he won't come. So the US is moving its embassy from Grosvenor Square, where it's been since the 60s, to Nine Elms, just south of the River Thames in London. So Trump said he's not going to come because he thinks it's a dreadful spot for the new embassy and it costs too much, and he blamed Obama. Actually, the whole thing was agreed under George W. Bush. But there we go. He's also frightened of protests because he's reviled in the UK and there'll be massive demonstrations against him. So much for the emphasis on freedom of expression, that many of Trump's supporters say that's terrible, that freedom of expression is under threat in the UK. And to be fair, they have a point. In some ways, freedom of expression is circumscribed in the UK. But when people are expressing their right to protest, surely people, Trumpsters or not, ought to welcome that. So it's staggering that he's not going to meet Elizabeth II. He might meet her on another occasion, but not on a state visit, because he can't be assured of a sycophantic reception by the media and the public. Yet he is willing to meet Kim Jong On, who is a viciously oppressive tyrant with his ludicrous cult of the personality, who's been constantly threatening nuclear war against the United States and against South Korea and things like that. Is there something a little wrong here, where Trump is so eager to meet Kim Jong On, but is not going to meet Elizabeth II? Who's harmed their people more? In which country is there greater respect for human rights? Is there more freedom of expression? Are there free elections? Things like that. So it is preposterous. It's staggering that he's not going to meet the Queen, this harmless old woman, but he is so keen on meeting this murderous despot. There we are. But I suppose he'd like to run the United States a bit like Kim Jong On runs North Korea. Trump's not that bad, but yes, he would like a press that heaps laudation on him, that would never utter a squeak of criticism, things like that. He would like to be adulated, and Trump always rates things by how exalted he was in the reception that he received in China and other places. So it's the height of bad manners to turn down this invitation once he accepted it and then said he's not going to go after all. Could have caused a diplomatic incident. Theresa May's government of the UK is very eager to secure a post-Brexit trade deal with the United States, which is why they've avoided speaking out against this. Trump doesn't like where the embassy is going to be or how much it costs. He knew that when he accepted the invitation. That's not the British government's fault. That's the US government's fault. They chose to move their embassy, they chose to buy this new spot, and they chose to pay that price. It's entirely their decision. Anyway, so what a coward he is, because he's not willing to face a few protesters. He ought to get used to them. He gets enough of them in the United States. And then Michael Pence seems to be setting preconditions for North Korea before these talks, making it more likely the talks will not go ahead after all. And Mike Pompeo saying the United States might walk away if a decent deal isn't on the table. So the North Koreans care an awful lot about face. People in East Asia definitely do. And this is making them feel humiliated. Trump perceives everything as a zero-sum game. Now, sometimes it's true. It is a zero-sum game. But somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. And he claims he's a winner. In fact, he's lost many times, going bankrupt 3 times and things like that. Losing the popular vote and on and on. So he will have to think that he's defeated the North Koreans. So why should they agree to things if they're going to lose out? Nuclear weapons are their only card. Why on earth would they give that away? They've got to be offered so much for it, like a huge amount of money. So setting these preconditions make failure more likely if indeed the talks take place at all in Singapore. And the North Koreans have yet more reason to distrust the Trump administration. The bad faith they've displayed over Iran is another example, breaking these solemn agreements made by the United States government. I know it's under the Obama administration, but an agreement is made by a nation state. It's not made by, it's binding on that nation state, not just on the individual president who made it. Put it the other way around. So one Iranian president makes agreement with the US. Would the United States find it acceptable if the subsequent Iranian president said, well, we're going to tear that up because that was my predecessor and I don't agree with that? No, you must abide by the agreement even if it was a previous president who made it. Where would international diplomacy be if every incoming president were to rip up the agreements signed by his predecessor in that office? So Trump is so tough, is he? No, he's not. He's weak. He gave the North Koreans something nobody else ever gave them, and he didn't get any concessions in return. I mean, admittedly, there was some chummy rhetoric, but there were no substantial concessions. So agreeing to meet them, which no sitting US president has done before. Former US presidents, notably Jimmy Carter, have been to North Korea to meet the tyrant over the past few decades. Moreover, Trump's threats are not credible. Because he said fire and fury if they threaten to do something. Nor they actually do anything. If they threaten to do something, he'd respond with fire and fury, which one can only expect to mean nuclear war. How else could one interpret that? Conventional war, perhaps? Well, that would very soon go nuclear. So he has been the boy who's cried wolf. He bluffed. The North Koreans called his bluff, and they persisted in provoking him. And he's a paper tiger, so it seems. I'd rather he's a paper tiger than he started the Third World War. But even if these talks fail, even if the United States walked out, the North Koreans would have gained something. It has enhanced their status because they got to meet a sitting US president. It's legitimized the regime. So Trump has given them something for nothing. And any agreement is unlikely to be made or unlikely to stick because, of course, he's so capricious. The North Koreans could say, well, he just changed his mind tomorrow. He's impetuous like that. He is untrustworthy. They don't have a partner for peace, because he's always changing his mind on key issues. So that's it. Yet more chaos, yet more illogic and stupidity in the Trump White House.